Hello, and welcome to another gentle journey on Sleepy Professor Stories. Tonight, you are invited into a slower way of knowing the world, one that begins by simply looking upward. Long before lenses, measurements, or written formulas, people across the earth learned the sky by watching it return again and again. Stars rose in familiar places. The sun traced a dependable path. The moon changed its face with patient regularity. Ancient astronomy was not a race toward answers, but a quiet companionship with the night, shaped by memory, repetition, and calm attention. As you listen, there is no need to hold onto details or follow ideas closely. These stories of early sky watching are here to drift past you like soft clouds. If at any moment something feels interesting, you may notice it gently. If not, you can let it fade without effort, and learning and resting are allowed to happen together. If these peaceful explorations ever feel comforting, you might choose to like or subscribe so this calm space can reach others who need rest as well. But that choice can wait. It is never urgent and it is never required. For now, allow your breathing to slow, as though the air itself is unhurried. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your jaw soften, your tongue rest easily, and your eyes remain comfortably closed. There is nothing to solve, nothing to remember, and nowhere else you need to be. The sky has been moving gently for thousands of years, and it will continue without your attention. In this journey, ancient astronomy becomes a backdrop, a steady rhythm beneath thought, guiding you not toward understanding, but toward ease. Let's begin. The night sky is above you now, just as it has always been, wide and patient and quietly present. Long before names or measurements, before stories were written or numbers were kept, people noticed this same darkness sprinkled with light. You can imagine them resting after long days, lying on cool ground looking upward without urgency. The stars do not rush. They return. And in that return, something begins to feel familiar. At first, the sky is not an object to be studied. It is simply there, repeating itself with calm consistency. Night follows day. Darkness brings cooler air. Points of light appear in similar places, evening after evening. Without trying to understand why, early humans notice that the sky behaves in ways that can be trusted. This trust does not require explanation. It settles quietly, the way breathing settles when nothing demands attention. Over time, patterns begin to emerge, not because anyone searches for them, but because the human mind is gentle and curious by nature. You notice how some stars always rise from the same edge of the world. Others circle slowly, never setting. The movement is subtle, slow enough that it can only be felt across many nights. There is no pressure to mark time precisely. The sky offers itself freely, and observation becomes a kind of companionship. These early sky watchers do not separate themselves from what they see. There is no sense of standing apart. The stars are not distant objects, but shared presences, glowing quietly while fires fade and conversations soften. The brain, wired to recognize regularity, begins to feel comfort in these repetitions. Familiar patterns reduce uncertainty. Calm grows where predictability lives. As generations pass, this noticing becomes a quiet inheritance. Children learn the sky simply by being under it. Without instruction, they recognize when certain stars appear earlier or later in the night. They feel the lengthening and shortening of darkness across the year. The sky becomes part of memory, stitched gently into daily life without ceremony. There is no need to stay awake for this learning. It happens naturally, like the way you recognize a familiar voice in another room. The mind absorbs repetition without effort. In this way, early astronomy is not a discipline, but a habit, formed slowly and without strain. The sky offers information in the softest possible way. Some stars shine brighter than others, and the eye returns to them again and again. These lights seem steady, dependable. They do not flicker like flames. They do not drift like clouds. This steadiness invites quiet attention. Even without understanding distance or scale, people sense that these lights are far away and unchanged by human movement. That sense of permanence brings reassurance. As you imagine these early moments, there is nothing dramatic happening. No sudden discoveries, just long stretches of calm watching, night after night. The sky teaches patience simply by existing. It does not reward urgency. It responds only to time. The brain slowly learns that the night sky can be relied upon. It becomes a backdrop to thought rather than a focus of effort. This familiarity helps early humans orient themselves, not only in space, but in emotion. Predictable environments soothe the nervous system. The stars, returning as expected, offer a quiet sense of safety. You might imagine someone waking in the night, glancing upward and finding comfort in seeing the same arrangement of lights as the night before. That recognition carries relief. The world is still in order. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing demands action. Over many seasons, the sky begins to feel like part of home. Just as a familiar landscape or shoreline grounds the body, the overhead patterns ground the mind. This grounding happens without language. No one needs to explain what the stars are for them to matter. Slowly, very slowly, awareness deepens. People notice that some stars rise just before dawn at certain times of year. Others disappear for months and return later. These observations are not catalogued or calculated. They are simply remembered, held loosely in the mind like a song heard many times. Memory and sky intertwine. The human brain excels at noticing cycles, and the night sky offers some of the longest and calmest cycles imaginable. Days pass, seasons turn, stars shift their positions slightly across months. These changes are gentle enough to never feel alarming. There is nothing you need to do while listening to this. You do not need to imagine clearly or hold images in place. Let the idea of these early watches drift as soft as starlight itself. If your thoughts wander, that is part of the process. In the absence of artificial light, the night sky appears fuller, richer, more crowded with points of light. Early humans live beneath a sky that feels alive with detail. The Milky Way stretches faintly overhead, not as a concept, but as a pale band of brightness. It does not demand interpretation, it simply exists. This shared experience of the sky connects people across vast distances and times. Different groups, separated by land and water, all look upward and see movement that is slow and dependable. Without communication, similar feelings arise: familiarity, curiosity, calm. The sky becomes a quiet teacher, not through instruction, but through presence. It teaches that some things unfold too slowly to rush. That observation does not always require explanation, that regularity can be soothing in itself. As nights pass, stars begin to feel less like strangers and more like old companions. Their light does not change mood. It does not react. It simply shines. This constancy allows the mind to relax. There is nothing to anticipate, nothing to fear. You might feel your own breathing begin to match this steadiness. Inhale, exhale. Like stars rising and setting, breath follows breath without effort. There is nowhere else to go. The familiarity of the night sky lays the foundation for everything that follows. Before calendars, before maps, before measurements, there is recognition. Recognition becomes trust. Trust becomes calm awareness. And as this calm awareness settles, the sky prepares to offer more subtle patterns, gently unfolding into seasons and stories, waiting patiently for the next layer of noticing to arrive. As you rest beneath the imagined night, the stars no longer feel scattered or random. They begin to behave like quiet companions, returning at certain times, drifting away at others, always moving with a patience that never asks you to hurry. Long ago, a people noticed this same gentle rhythm. Without marking dates or counting hours, they sensed that the sky itself carried a memory of the year. You can picture early evenings when familiar stars appeared lower on the horizon, just after sunset. Weeks later, those same lights arrived earlier, climbing higher before darkness fully settled. This slow change did not need explanation. It was simply noticed, the way you notice a familiar scent returning with a season. The sky began to feel like a soft guide, reminding people where they were in the turning cycle of the year. Certain star patterns became linked with warmth or cold, with planting or rest. When specific stars rose just before dawn, people sensed that longer days were approaching. When those stars faded into the sun's glow, shorter days followed. This awareness was not precise, but it was reliable enough. The stars did not rush, and neither did the lives shaped beneath them. Unlike a clock, the sky never demanded attention at exact moments. It offered wide windows of change instead. Days stretched gradually longer, then shorter again. The stars mirrored this slow breathing of the planet. Time felt circular, not counted but felt, like the rhythm of your own breath as it deepens during rest. As you imagine these ancient nights, notice how observation happens without strain. There is nothing to solve. People simply recognize that the sky behaves differently across the year. The same stars do not dominate every season. Some disappear for months, hidden by daylight, only to return later, quietly reclaiming their place. This absence does not create worry. Instead, it creates expectation. Just as you trust that morning follows night, early observers trust that vanished stars will come back. This trust allows the mind to relax. Predictability softens uncertainty, and uncertainty fades into calm. Weather patterns, too, seem loosely connected to the sky's changing face. Colder air arrives when certain stars dominate the night. Warmer breezes follow when others return. These associations are not exact predictions, but gentle correlations noticed over many years. The sky becomes a companion to daily life, not a ruler over it. You may sense how this way of knowing feels different from modern measurement. It is slower, kinder, and more forgiving. There is room for variation. If clouds hide the stars, nothing is lost. The patterns continue whether they are watched or not. For people living close to the land, these seasonal companions matter quietly. They influence when to travel, when to gather, when to remain close to shelter. But even this influence remains soft. The stars suggest rather than command. Life adapts without tension. As generations pass, this knowledge settles into shared memory. Stories are not yet fixed, but recognition is. Children grow up noticing which stars belong to certain times of year, simply by being present. Learning happens without lessons. Memory forms naturally, like a path worn gently into the ground. There is nothing you need to remember here. Let these ideas drift by, like slow-moving clouds. Your mind can listen without effort, absorbing only what feels easy. The sky's role as a seasonal companion extends beyond usefulness. It shapes emotional awareness too. Long winter nights feel different beneath certain stars than summer evenings beneath others. The sky subtly influences mood, offering variety without surprise. Over time, the stars create a sense of continuity. Even as daily events change, the seasonal sky remains dependable. This continuity brings comfort, especially in uncertain environments. When the ground changes, the sky stays familiar. As you breathe slowly, you may feel how this steady repetition echoes in your body. Heartbeat follows heartbeat. Breath follows breath. Like stars returning each year, your body knows how to continue without instruction. Some stars seem to mark the beginning or ending of seasons more clearly than others. Their appearance or disappearance becomes a gentle signal, not a deadline. These signals are wide and forgiving, allowing life to move at a human pace. The sky, in this way, becomes a shared calendar written in light rather than ink. It does not divide time into sharp edges. Instead, it blends moments together, smoothing transitions between phases of the year. As night after night passes, familiarity deepens. The stars no longer demand curiosity. They provide reassurance. Their movements are slow enough to feel permanent, yet dynamic enough to remain alive. You might imagine someone glancing upward after a long day, recognizing that the sky looks just as it should for that time of year. That recognition brings a quiet sense of order. The world continues as expected. This gentle awareness does not require constant attention. People do not watch the sky every night with focus. Instead, they absorb it casually, letting patterns register over time. Observation happens in the background, like a melody heard repeatedly until it becomes familiar. As this chapter unfolds, allow yourself to rest within this softness. There is nothing you need to track. The stars are patient enough to wait. The idea of seasons guided by stars prepares the mind for deeper noticing. Once the sky feels familiar, it invites closer attention. Patterns grow clearer. Relationships emerge gently without urgency. And so, as the stars continue their slow companionship across the year, they quietly open the door to noticing even subtler rhythms, waiting calmly for the next layer of understanding to arrive. As the night sky settles into this steady cycle of return and retreat, it gently invites you to notice how these same stars begin to form recognizable shapes, quietly preparing the way for shared stories written in light. The sun rises again, just as it always does, and you can imagine how this simple return once carried deep comfort. Long before clocks or calendars, the sun becomes the most dependable presence in the sky. You do not need to understand it to feel its rhythm. Each morning, light slowly spreads across the land, warming surfaces, lifting shadows, and signaling the quiet continuation of life. Early humans notice the sun's path, not because they are searching for meaning, but because it is impossible to ignore. It appears in roughly the same place each day, yet never exactly the same. This gentle variation invites calm attention. You might imagine someone waking at dawn, noticing how the sun climbs a little higher or lower than before, without needing to measure the change. Over many days, a pattern becomes clear. The sun's arc across the sky slowly shifts. Some days, it travels high and wide, lingering longer in the sky. Other days, its path is lower and shorter, bringing earlier darkness. These changes happen so gradually that they feel natural, like the slow deepening of sleep as night unfolds. The warmth of the sun becomes part of memory. When its light feels stronger, days stretch comfortably. When it feels weaker, cooler air arrives and shadows lengthen. The body responds instinctively, without calculation. Muscles relax in warmth. They draw inward when cold returns. The sun quietly shapes daily rhythms through sensation alone. You can sense how this repetition builds trust. The sun never surprises, it does not rush. Even when clouds hide it, its presence is felt in the glow behind the sky. People learn that light will return, even after the longest night. This assurance settles deep in the mind, offering stability in an uncertain world. As seasons change, the sun's behavior becomes a gentle signal. Longer days bring movement and activity. Shorter days encourage rest and stillness. These shifts are not commands, only invitations. Life adjusts without resistance, flowing with the changing light. There is no need to track time precisely. The sun provides a wide margin of understanding. You know when warmth is returning. You feel when colder days approach. The sky communicates through gradual change rather than sudden instruction. Over generations, this awareness becomes shared. Children grow up sensing how the sun feels different at various times of year. They learn by living, not by studying. The knowledge settles quietly, and like a familiar song heard often enough to hum without thinking. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to do. You can let these ideas pass gently, just as sunlight passes across the ground. Your breathing can slow, matching the sun's unhurried movement from horizon to horizon. The sun's daily journey also creates a sense of direction. East and west become meaningful simply by watching where light appears and fades. This awareness grounds people in space as well as time. Orientation feels intuitive rather than learned. Morning light brings a soft clarity. Evening light carries a sense of release. These transitions repeat with comforting regularity. Even without understanding the Earth's motion, early observers feel the balance between light and dark. At certain times of year, the sun seems to hesitate, rising and setting at nearly the same points for several days. These pauses feel noticeable, even without explanation. The world seems to hold its breath briefly, then continue. These moments become anchors in memory. They help mark the turning of the year, not with numbers, but with feeling. The body senses when change has reached its peak and begins to reverse. The sun's reliability allows attention to relax. When something is predictable, the mind does not need to remain alert. It can soften. This is why watching the sun can feel calming, even now. The nervous system responds to steady patterns with ease. You might imagine sitting quietly, feeling sunlight on your skin, noticing how its warmth shifts as the day moves on. There is no urgency in this noticing. It happens naturally, like the slow rhythm of thought as sleep approaches. The sun also teaches patience. Its changes are too slow to rush. You cannot make it rise faster or linger longer. This lack of control becomes soothing. There is relief in knowing some things move at their own pace. Over time, people learn to trust these rhythms deeply. Even during hardship, the sun continues its path. This constancy offers comfort. It reminds the mind that change does not always mean danger. The relationship between sunlight and rest becomes clear. Darkness invites sleep. Light encourages waking. These cues guide the body long before artificial lighting exists. The sun quietly shapes circadian rhythms through exposure alone. As days shorten, the body naturally seeks more rest. As days lengthen, energy returns. This dance happens without instruction, woven into biology through countless generations of exposure to light and dark. You may feel how this mirrors your own experience. When light fades, your thoughts slow. When morning arrives, awareness gently returns. There is nothing you need to force. The sun's slow path across the year creates a sense of belonging. People live within its rhythm rather than against it. Time feels expansive, not pressured. Moments blend together smoothly. This steady movement lays the foundation for deeper observation. Once the sun's behavior feels familiar, it becomes possible to notice subtler details. Shadows grow longer or shorter. Light angles shift. The sky invites closer attention. As this chapter comes to rest, imagine the sun continuing its calm journey day after day, shaping warmth, light, and rest without effort. And as the sun keeps tracing this gentle path across the sky, its steady presence quietly prepares you to notice how the moon begins its own slower cycle, changing softly from night to night. The moon is already familiar to you, even before you try to understand it. It rises without sound, changes without effort, and returns night after night with a calm reliability. Long ago, people noticed this same presence, not as something to measure, but as something to feel. The moon does not hurry, and it never asks you to hurry either. At first, the moon appears simply as light in the darkness. Some nights it is full and bright, washing the land in a pale glow. Other nights it is thin, delicate, barely holding its shape. These changes are slow enough that they feel gentle. You do not wake up to a different moon suddenly. It shifts little by little, inviting patience rather than attention. Early observers do not think in terms of phases or cycles. They notice change the way you notice a growing plant or a lengthening shadow. One evening, the moon feels rounder than before. Another evening, it seems to fade. There is no need to name these moments. Recognition alone is enough. As nights pass, a quiet rhythm becomes apparent. The moon grows, then rests in fullness, then slowly diminishes. Darkness returns more completely, and then, gradually, light builds again. This repeating pattern offers a soft way of counting time, not through numbers, but through feeling. The body learns the rhythm without effort. You can imagine someone stepping outside each evening, glancing upward and sensing where they are within this gentle sequence. The moon becomes a companion to memory. Its shape helps anchor recent days without demanding precision. Time feels rounded, not divided. Unlike the sun, whose changes stretch across seasons, the moon moves through its pattern quickly enough to be noticed within a single month. This shorter rhythm makes it especially intimate. People begin to associate certain activities with certain moonlit nights, simply because it feels natural. Brighter nights allow easier movement. Darker nights invite rest and closeness. These associations form quietly, without instruction. The moon influences behavior through light alone, shaping experience rather than directing it. There is nothing exact about this awareness. Clouds may hide the moon for several nights, and nothing is lost. The rhythm continues whether it is observed or not. This continuity builds trust. The moon does not disappear forever. It returns, just as expected. As you listen, allow your own sense of time to soften. There is nothing you need to track. The idea of the moon's slow change can drift through your thoughts like reflected light on water. The changing moon also teaches patience. Its movement is too slow to rush, yet too steady to ignore. This balance encourages gentle noticing rather than focus. You may find your breathing slowing as you imagine these nights passing one into another. Over many generations, this lunar rhythm becomes deeply familiar. People begin to anticipate fullness and darkness without calculation. The body remembers. Memory does not need language to exist. The moon's light behaves differently than the sun's. It is softer, cooler, more diffuse. Shadows under moonlight feel less sharp. Edges blur. This softness affects perception, encouraging calm and introspection. Nighttime becomes a space for quiet reflection rather than action. As the moon wanes, nights grow darker. Stars stand out more clearly. This subtle shift invites attention upward, gently preparing the mind to notice patterns beyond the moon itself. The sky layers its lessons slowly. You might sense how this gradual change mirrors internal states. Energy rises and falls. Attention sharpens, then softens. Nothing remains fixed, yet nothing changes abruptly. This natural ebb and flow supports rest. Ancient cultures do not need to understand why the moon changes shape to feel its rhythm. The explanation is unnecessary for the effect. Light increases, then decreases. That is enough. Some nights the moon rises earlier. Other nights it arrives late, or only in the early morning hours. These differences are noticed casually. They add texture to time without complication. The moon also connects nights together. You remember how it looked yesterday, and you notice how it looks now. This comparison happens automatically. The mind enjoys continuity. As you settle deeper, remind yourself there is nothing to remember here. These ideas can fade in and out. Sleep and learning can overlap gently. The repeated return of the moon reassures the nervous system. Predictable cycles signal safety. When the environment behaves consistently, the body can relax. This response is ancient and deeply ingrained. Moonlight also reveals the landscape differently. Familiar places appear softer, quieter. This altered view invites a slower pace. Movement becomes cautious, deliberate, calm. As fullness approaches, the moon dominates the sky. Its brightness feels complete, satisfying. Then, without urgency, it begins to release that light. Nothing is lost. The cycle continues. This release teaches impermanence without fear. Light fades, but it will return. Darkness deepens, but it is temporary. This understanding settles gently into awareness. You may feel how comforting this lesson is. Change does not mean disappearance. It means transition. As the moon thins, nights become quieter. Attention turns inward. The sky feels wider, deeper. Stars take prominence, quietly waiting. This gradual handoff between moonlight and starlight happens seamlessly. The sky never feels empty. It simply shifts emphasis. Over time, people begin to trust this rhythm deeply. It becomes part of emotional regulation, even without conscious awareness. Rest follows darkness. Activity follows light. The moon's cycle offers a natural pacing for life. There is room for rest, for growth, for release. Nothing must be constant. As you imagine these ancient nights, let your thoughts slow further. There is nowhere else to go. The moon has time. The soft glow of lunar light continues to shape human experience quietly, night after night, building familiarity through repetition alone. And as the moon keeps tracing this gentle pattern of light and shadow, it quietly invites your attention to drift outward, toward the stars that begin to gather more clearly in the deepening night sky. Stone circles rest quietly in the landscape, patient and unmoving, as though they have always been there. You can imagine approaching one slowly, feeling how the space invites stillness rather than explanation. Long ago, people placed these stones with care, not in haste, but across seasons and years, responding gently to the rhythms of the sky above them. Each stone is heavy, yet the arrangement feels light. Circles do not point forward or backward, they simply surround. This shape mirrors the sky's own movement, where the sun rises, arcs, and sets, returning again without sharp beginnings or endings. Early builders do not need complex tools to notice this harmony. They observe patiently, allowing repetition to teach them where light and shadow fall. You may imagine someone standing within a circle at dawn, watching the sun appear between two stones. The moment is quiet. It does not announce itself. Over many mornings, the same alignment repeats, subtle but dependable. The sky meets the ground in a way that feels intentional, even without words. These structures are not built quickly. They emerge through cooperation and time. Stones are moved, adjusted, and set in place gradually. This slowness is part of their meaning. The builders work with the land rather than against it, responding to natural contours and horizons already present. The alignment of stones with celestial movement does not require exact measurement. Precision grows through observation rather than calculation. People watch where the sun rises during different seasons, noticing how its position shifts slightly each day. Over time, memory and patience create understanding. There is no urgency in this process. If a stone is placed imperfectly, it can be adjusted. If a season passes, another will return. The sky offers endless chances to observe again. This forgiving pace encourages calm attention rather than strain. As you listen, allow your own body to mirror this patience. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to finish. The stones have waited centuries. You can rest for a while. Stone circles often align with moments when the sun reaches its highest or lowest path across the sky. These times feel noticeable, even without explanation. Light behaves differently. Shadows lengthen or shorten. The air carries a subtle change. The stones quietly mark these transitions, holding space for awareness. Standing stones also interact with the moon and stars. At night, moonlight passes through openings, casting gentle patterns on the ground. Certain stars appear framed by stone gaps, returning year after year. These alignments do not shout. They whisper. The builders may not think of themselves as creating observatories. They are simply responding to what they see. The sky feels close and participatory, not distant. The stones become a way of remembering where light appears and disappears. Over generations, these places gather meaning without instruction. People return to them, sensing familiarity. Children grow up visiting these circles, absorbing the sky's rhythm without explanation. Learning happens through presence rather than teaching. You can imagine gatherings that are quiet rather than loud. People stand, sit, or lie on the ground, watching light change slowly. The stones offer structure, but not control. They frame experience without limiting it. The materials themselves contribute to calm. Stone absorbs heat during the day and releases it slowly at night. Touching it feels grounding. The weight beneath your hand reminds you of time passing gently. Stone circles often occupy elevated or open spaces where the horizon is clear. This openness allows the sky to dominate perception. The land steps back. Attention lifts upward naturally without effort. As centuries pass, these structures remain while cultures change. Their endurance reflects the long-term nature of celestial cycles. The sun and moon continue their paths regardless of human presence. The stones simply remain ready. Weather alters them slowly. Wind smooths edges. Rain darkens surfaces. These changes are gradual, never urgent. The stones age gracefully, mirroring the sky's own slow transformations. There is comfort in this permanence. When something remains through generations, it suggests stability. The nervous system responds to this with ease. Predictable environments encourage rest. The relationship between stone and sky teaches balance. Human effort meets natural rhythm. Neither dominates. The stones do not move the sun. The sun does not disturb the stones. They coexist. You may notice your breathing slowing as you imagine this stillness. Inhale, exhale. Like the sun's arc, breath follows breath without effort. Stone circles also create shared experience. People stand together, observing the same sky. Attention aligns gently without coordination. Community forms quietly through shared watching. These moments do not demand interpretation. They allow space for reflection, for silence. The stones hold this space patiently. At night, the stars wheel overhead. The circle below mirrors this motion, by grounding the sky's vastness into something touchable. The world feels connected rather than divided. The builders likely do not think in terms of astronomy. They think in terms of familiarity. Where does the sun rise when days grow longest? Where does it set when darkness deepens? These questions answer themselves through watching. Over time, alignment becomes tradition. Stones are respected not because of belief, but because of reliability. They continue to mark moments quietly, year after year. As you rest with this image, there is nothing to remember. Let the idea of stones and sky drift together. Your mind can soften. The long-term observation embodied in these structures reflects trust in time. Nothing needs to happen quickly. Understanding unfolds slowly, just as sleep unfolds now. Stone circles stand as reminders that patience can shape understanding without urgency. They show how human attention can align gently with natural cycles. As the night deepens, imagine standing within one of these circles, feeling the sky above and the earth below, both steady and calm. And as these silent stones continue holding their place beneath the turning sky, they quietly prepare your awareness to drift toward the gentle shapes that stars themselves begin to form overhead. The sky does not require tools to be known. You can simply look just as people once did, letting your eyes adjust slowly to darkness. Without lenses or markings, the night reveals itself patiently. Vision softens. Details emerge not through effort, but through time. Long ago, this kind of looking is all there is, and it is enough. At first, the stars appear sparse. A few brighter points stand out against the dark. As minutes pass, more lights arrive. The eyes become sensitive, learning the difference between glow and shadow. This gradual awakening of vision feels gentle, like the mind easing towards sleep. Nothing needs to be forced. Ancient observers rely on this slow adjustment. They learn that rushing attention hides detail. Stillness reveals it. By remaining quiet, by letting sight settle, the sky becomes richer. Patterns emerge not because they are searched for, but because they repeat themselves night after night. Memory plays a quiet role here. You begin to remember where certain stars appear, how they move, how long they stay visible. This remembering is not precise. It is felt rather than recorded. The mind holds impressions loosely, allowing them to change as new nights arrive. Without instruments, observation becomes intimate. The sky feels close, personal. Each watcher experiences it slightly differently, shaped by location, season, and moment. This variation does not weaken understanding, it deepens it. You might imagine someone lying back, tracing familiar paths with their eyes. A star rises here, another sets there. The movement is slow enough to feel almost still. Only by returning again and again does change become noticeable. This repetition builds trust. You learn that the sky behaves consistently. Even without measurement, you sense direction and timing. East and west become known through habit. Night after night, orientation forms naturally. There is no pressure to be accurate. If a star is misremembered, that to the sky gently corrects the mistake the next evening. Learning happens without judgment. This forgiving process encourages continued watching. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to focus on. Let your own awareness drift, just as ancient observers allowed their attention to wander across the sky. Naked eye observation also teaches patience with uncertainty. Some stars flicker, others appear briefly, then fade. Clouds interrupt the view. These interruptions are accepted without frustration. The sky is allowed to be incomplete. Over time, observers learn the limits of their senses. They understand that some movements are too slow to see in a single night. This understanding does not cause disappointment. It encourages long-term attention. Watching without instruments also strengthens connection between mind and body. The neck tilts upward, breathing slows, muscles relax. Observation becomes a physical experience, not just a mental one. The darkness itself becomes part of learning. Without artificial light, contrast increases. The Milky Way appears as a faint brightness, not a concept, but a presence. It does not demand explanation. It simply fills the sky softly. As nights pass, subtle changes become familiar. A star rises earlier. Another appears closer to the horizon. These shifts are sensed gradually. The brain excels at noticing slow patterns when given time. Memory weaves these impressions together, not into charts or diagrams, but into feeling. The sky becomes something you recognize, like a landscape seen often enough to know its contours. This way of watching does not separate observer from observed. You are part of the same environment as the stars you see. The air, the ground, and the sky blend into one experience. There is nothing analytical here, no problem to solve. Observation is an end in itself. This makes it restful. The mind does not race ahead, it stays present. Ancient watchers trust their senses because they have little else. This trust builds confidence in perception. You learn to rely on what you see, even if you cannot explain it. Some nights, the sky feels especially clear. Other nights, haze softens everything. Both experiences are accepted equally. Variation becomes part of familiarity. You may feel how this approach mirrors bedtime awareness. Thoughts arise and fade. Some are clear, others are blurred. There is no need to hold on to any of them. Over generations, this art of watching is passed down quietly, not through instruction, but through shared moments. A parent points upward, a child follows the gesture. Learning begins. No one insists on meaning. Recognition comes first. Understanding may come later, or not at all. Both outcomes are acceptable. The sky rewards patience. The longer you watch, the more it offers. But it never demands attention. You are free to look away, to rest, to return later. As your breathing slows, imagine lying beneath a dark sky, eyes open, thoughts unhurried. The stars do not mind if you forget them. This gentle way of knowing builds a foundation for everything that follows. Before maps and models, there is simply looking. And looking, done patiently, is enough. And as this quiet art of watching settles into familiarity, it gently opens space for the stars themselves to begin forming shapes the mind starts to recognize, almost without trying. When the night grows quiet and the firelight flickers low, you can imagine hands moving slowly across stone, clay, or parchment. These are not hurried gestures. They are careful, thoughtful, guided by memory rather than measurement. Long before precision tools exist, people begin to draw the sky, not to capture it exactly, but to remember how it feels. Early sky maps are not maps in the modern sense. They are impressions, simple arrangements of dots and lines meant to echo what the eye sees again and again. A cluster of stars becomes a loose shape. A pathway across the sky becomes a gentle curve. Accuracy matters less than familiarity. The goal is recognition, not perfection. You might picture someone sitting close to a small flame, tracing shapes they have seen overhead many times. The fire crackles softly. Shadows move across the surface. The drawing does not need to match the sky precisely. It only needs to feel right. This feeling comes from repetition, from nights spent looking upward without urgency. These early diagrams often rely on simple geometry. Circles, arcs, and straight lines appear again and again. These shapes are easy to remember and easy to reproduce. They mirror the way the sky itself seems to move, looping and returning, rather than stopping abruptly. Geometry here is not abstract. It is comforting. There is something calming about reducing the vast sky into gentle patterns. Complexity softens into order. The mind relaxes when it can hold a shape without strain. A few points connected by a line feel manageable, even when they represent something immense. These maps are not meant to be read quickly. They invite slow attention. Each mark carries the weight of many nights of observation. When you look at such a drawing, you are not seeing a single moment, but an accumulation of time. The act of mapping also deepens memory. When you draw something, you notice it more carefully. Early sky watchers begin to pay closer attention to where stars sit in relation to one another. Not because they are searching for data, but because drawing encourages presence. You can sense how this process feels meditative. The hand moves slowly. The mind stays calm. Thought does not race ahead. Mapping becomes a quiet extension of watching rather than a separate activity. Some diagrams are passed down through generations. A child learns the sky not only by looking up, but by tracing lines drawn by others. This shared reference creates continuity. The sky becomes something held collectively, not individually. These early maps are often symbolic rather than literal. A line might represent a path rather than an exact distance. A circle might suggest repetition rather than a boundary. Meaning remains flexible. Nothing is fixed. This flexibility allows the maps to remain useful even as perspectives change. They do not depend on precise scale, they depend on relationship. Which stars rise together? Which return after absence? Which form a familiar cluster? As you imagine these drawings, notice how little effort they require. There is no rush to finish. If a mark is imperfect, it can remain so. Imperfection does not break understanding, it often deepens it. The materials themselves encourage simplicity. Stone resists fine detail. Clay softens edges. Even early parchment absorbs ink unevenly. These limitations shape the style naturally, guiding the hand toward bold, calm forms. Firelight also influences perception. It brightens some areas and dims others. The drawing shifts as the light moves. This gentle instability mirrors the sky's own subtle motion. Nothing feels static. Geometry appears again and again because it comforts the mind. Straight lines suggest connection. Curves suggest continuity. Circles suggest return. These shapes echo natural rhythms already felt in the body. You may notice how these simple forms resemble breathing. Inhale, exhale, rise, fall. The same patterns repeat quietly in the sky and on the page. These maps are not authoritative. They do not claim to be complete. They are aids to memory, not rules to follow. This makes them welcoming. Anyone can look at them without feeling wrong. As nights pass, maps are adjusted gently. A star is moved slightly. A line is extended or shortened. Learning happens through refinement rather than correction. The process stays kind. There's no need to use these maps actively. Often they simply exist as reminders. Seeing them recalls the sky even during the day. The connection remains alive even when the stars are hidden. This ability to carry the sky into waking hours deepens familiarity. The night becomes less distant. Its patterns linger softly in the mind. You can feel how this kind of knowledge does not compete with rest. It supports it. Understanding arrives slowly, without effort, like a thought drifting through a half-dream. Ancient sky maps do not separate art from observation. Drawing and seeing blend into one experience. Creativity supports memory rather than distracting from it. There is nothing analytical required here. The maps do not demand interpretation. They offer gentle guidance, nothing more. As you rest now, allow these images to drift through your awareness. Dots of light, soft lines, curves forming without tension. The simplicity of these diagrams reflects trust in the sky. There is no need to capture every detail. The sky will always be there to be seen again. Over time, this trust grows. People know they can return to the sky whenever they wish. The map is only a companion, not a substitute. You may sense how this mirrors your own experience of listening. You do not need to remember every word. You can return to rest whenever you choose. As firelight fades and night deepens, the drawings remain, holding the memory of stars in quiet form. The sky itself continues its slow movement overhead, unchanged by being drawn or not. And as these gentle lines and shapes settle into memory, they softly prepare the mind to notice how even the brief darkening of the sky can become meaningful when light itself begins to shift and return. The sky does not always change in obvious ways. Sometimes its most noticeable moments arrive slowly, almost politely, as if they do not wish to disturb anyone at rest. An eclipse is one of these moments. It does not crash into the night or interrupt the day. Instead, light shifts gradually, giving the world time to adjust. Long ago, people notice that on rare occasions, daylight begins to soften at an unusual hour. The sun still shines, and yet something feels different. Shadows lose their sharpness, colors flatten slightly. Birds pause. There is no sudden darkness, only a gentle dimming, like the lowering of a lamp. This change invites stillness rather than fear. The sky behaves calmly, and so people remain calm as well. The sun does not vanish. It is simply shared for a while, its light partially hidden by a familiar companion moving across its path. Even without understanding distances or motion, early observers sense that this event follows a pattern. It does not happen randomly. It arrives predictably, though rarely, and it unfolds at an unhurried pace. This predictability builds trust. As the light continues to fade, the air feels cooler, not dramatically, just enough to notice. The world quiets as if listening. People look upward without urgency, allowing the change to happen in its own time. There is no need to act. Nothing must be fixed. The sky is doing something it knows how to do. This knowledge settles deeply, calming the mind. During a solar eclipse, the sun's brightness softens first. It becomes easier to look toward the sky, though still not directly. The landscape takes on an unfamiliar tone, neither day nor night. This in-between quality feels peaceful rather than alarming. Shadows behave strangely. They grow less defined. Edges blur. Light seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. This gentle distortion invites curiosity without demanding interpretation. As darkness reaches its deepest point, it does not linger. It pauses briefly like a held breath. Then, without announcement, light begins to return. The process reverses itself smoothly. This return is as calm as the departure. Brightness grows slowly. Colors regain depth. Shadows sharpen again. The world resumes its familiar appearance, unchanged. Lunar eclipses offer a similar lesson in patience. On certain nights, the moon begins to dim. Its surface darkens gradually, often taking on warmer tones rather than disappearing completely. The change is slow enough to feel almost meditative. You can imagine watching the moon for a long while, noticing its brightness fade and then deepen in color. The transformation is subtle. Nothing is taken away abruptly. The moon remains present throughout. It does not vanish. It simply shifts its light, reminding observers that absence is not always total. These events teach an important quiet lesson. Even dramatic changes in the sky unfold gently. There is time to notice, time to adjust, time to rest within the moment. As you listen, there is nothing you need to follow closely. Let the idea of light dimming and returning drift through your thoughts. Your breathing can slow naturally. Eclipses also reveal the reliability of motion. The same movements that bring light also restore it. The sky operates through balance, not disruption. Early observers may not know why eclipses happen, but they know what to expect. Darkness arrives gradually. Light returns reliably. This sequence becomes familiar, reducing uncertainty. Over generations, this familiarity deepens. People come to see eclipses as part of the sky's behavior, not exceptions to it. The sky remains trustworthy, even during change. There is comfort in this understanding. When change is predictable, the nervous system relaxes. It no longer prepares for danger. It rests. Eclipses also highlight the interconnectedness of celestial bodies. One object moves gently into alignment with another. Nothing collides. Nothing rushes. Everything follows a shared rhythm. This rhythm is slow enough to observe without strain. You do not need instruments or calculations. Watching is enough. As light returns fully, life resumes its usual pace. Birds continue singing. Shadows stretch normally. The event leaves no trace except memory. This lack of lasting disruption reinforces calm. The sky does not hold onto drama. It moves on, just as it always does. You may notice how this mirrors internal experience. Thoughts pass through awareness, dimming attention briefly, then fading. Nothing stays forever. Eclipses remind the mind that change can be temporary and gentle. Darkness does not mean loss. It often means transition. There is no urgency here, no need to prepare. The sky handles itself. As you imagine these quiet events, allow your body to soften further. There is nowhere else to go. The predictability of eclipses becomes another layer of trust between humans and sky. Even rare events follow rules. Even shadows obey rhythm. This understanding settles into collective memory. Eclipses become anticipated rather than feared. Calm replaces uncertainty. As the night deepens now, the idea of light changing and returning can fade into the background, like a half-remembered dream. The sky continues its movements, whether noticed or not, offering reassurance through consistency. And as light quietly proves its ability to leave and return without harm, it gently prepares the mind to notice how wandering points of brightness begin to move differently from the stars around them. Some lights in the sky refuse to stay still. You may notice them only after many quiet nights, when familiarity makes small differences easier to feel. Most stars hold their places, returning night after night in the same relationships. But a few bright points behave differently. They drift slowly, changing position against the background of stars, as if taking their own unhurried paths. Long ago, people noticed this gentle wandering without naming it. At first, it feels like a small inconsistency, easy to overlook. One evening, a bright light appears near a familiar group of stars. Weeks later, it is no longer there. It has moved slightly, calmly, without explanation. This movement is not sudden. It unfolds so slowly that it never feels alarming. You can imagine early observers watching these lights with curiosity rather than concern. The movement is graceful, almost polite. Nothing breaks. Nothing disappears abruptly. The sky remains orderly, even as some lights choose to roam. These wandering lights do not rush across the sky. They glide. Night by night, their position shifts by a small amount, noticeable only through memory and patience. This kind of change rewards long-term attention rather than focus. It invites the mind to relax into watching. Unlike stars that rise and set together, these lights sometimes pause, slow down, or even seem to reverse direction for a time. This behavior feels strange at first, yet it follows a pattern that repeats. Repetition transforms surprise into familiarity. There is no need to understand why this happens to feel comforted by it. The sky continues to behave consistently. The wandering lights never collide with stars. They never disrupt the larger pattern. They simply move within it. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to picture clearly. Let the idea of slow movement drift by. Your thoughts can wander as gently as these lights do. These planets, though not yet called that, stand out because of their brightness. They shine steadily, without the faint twinkle of distant stars. This steadiness makes them easier to follow over time. Their presence feels calm and reliable. Night after night, someone might glance upward, recognizing that a familiar light has shifted slightly. This recognition brings quiet satisfaction. The sky reveals that it is alive with motion, yet never chaotic. Some wandering lights take many months to complete their paths. Others move more quickly. Each follows its own rhythm, offering variety without confusion. The sky holds multiple tempos at once, layered gently together. This layered movement teaches patience. You cannot understand it in a single night. It unfolds only through repeated, relaxed observation. The mind learns to wait. At times, a wandering light passes close to a familiar star. For a while, they appear to travel together. Then slowly, they part ways. This meeting and separation feels peaceful, like paths crossing briefly and then continuing on. Early observers may notice that these lights often follow a similar band across the sky, staying near the path of the sun and moon. This shared region feels like a quiet corridor of motion. Nothing strays wildly from it. Even when a planet appears to slow, stop, or move backward, the change remains gentle. It happens over weeks, not moments. The sky never demands immediate attention. This slow dance encourages trust. If something seems confusing one night, clarity often returns later without effort. The wandering light resumes its forward motion, just as expected. There is no urgency to resolve these movements. Ancient observers do not rush to explain them. They simply notice, remember, and continue watching. Understanding grows slowly, if at all. The wandering lights also add depth to the night sky. They show that not everything is fixed. Some things change while remaining orderly. This balance feels reassuring. You may feel how this mirrors inner experience. Thoughts arise, drift, pause, and move on. Some return, others fade. The mind can observe without controlling. The planet's motion becomes another rhythm layered into nightly experience. Stars provide stability. Wandering lights provide gentle variation. Together, they create a sky that feels alive yet dependable. Over time, these movements become expected. When a wandering light disappears into the sun's glow, its absence is not worrying. It will return, just as before. This disappearance and return happens slowly, stretched across months. The transition is soft enough to feel natural. Nothing feels lost. As generations pass, these lights gain familiarity. They are recognized individually by their brightness and behavior, even without names. Each has a personality shaped by its movement. Some wanderers linger in the sky for long stretches. Others visit briefly. This variety keeps attention gently engaged without demanding focus. You might imagine lying beneath the stars, noticing one of these lights resting near a familiar pattern. The night feels calm. The movement feels predictable. There is nothing you need to track. The sky remembers its own paths. The wandering lights also reinforce the idea that change does not break order. Movement can exist within structure. This understanding settles quietly into awareness. As your breathing slows, you may sense how comforting this is. The world can shift without becoming unsafe. Ancient observers learn to accept what they see without rushing to explain it. This acceptance supports rest. Curiosity remains soft. Even when movements seem unusual, the sky eventually resolves them. The wandering light resumes its steady progress. The pattern continues. This reliability builds deep trust. The sky proves that even its most unusual behaviors follow gentle rules. As the night deepens, the wandering lights continue their slow journeys, whether watched or not. Their paths do not depend on attention. You can let your own thoughts wander now without effort. There is nowhere else to go. The presence of these moving lights quietly prepares the mind to notice how time itself can be marked by the sky, not through precision, but through repetition. And as these wandering lights continue their calm paths among the stars, they gently invite attention toward the slow patterns that shape days, months, and years together. Time does not begin as something counted. It begins as something felt. You can imagine early nights and mornings flowing into one another without labels, and guided only by light and darkness. The sky offers its rhythms freely, and people learn to rest within them long before they try to divide them. Each day begins with light returning and ends with its gentle withdrawal. This simple repetition becomes the first sense of time. Morning feels different from evening. Activity naturally gathers around brightness, while rest settles into darkness. No numbers are needed. The body understands. As days pass, subtle changes emerge. The length of daylight shifts slowly. Some mornings arrive sooner. Some evenings linger longer. These differences are not sharp enough to demand attention, yet they are steady enough to be noticed. Time stretches and contracts like breath. The moon adds another layer to this flow. Its changing shape offers a quieter rhythm, one that unfolds across many nights. Fullness arrives, rests briefly, then releases. Darkness deepens, then softens again. This cycle becomes a gentle way of sensing longer passages without counting. Together, sun and moon create overlapping patterns. Short rhythms nest inside longer ones. Days fit within lunar cycles. Lunar cycles fit within seasonal change. Time begins to feel layered rather than linear. You can sense how comforting this structure is. Nothing arrives suddenly. Everything announces itself slowly. The sky does not rush anyone forward. It invites awareness without pressure. Early calendars are not written down. They live in memory, in habit, in shared understanding. People know when to expect warmth or cold by how the sun behaves. They sense longer periods by watching the moon return to familiar shapes. This way of keeping time feels circular rather than straight. Endings blend into beginnings. What has passed will return in another form. This reduces urgency. There is always another cycle coming. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to track. Let these rhythms drift through your awareness. Your breathing can follow them naturally. Over many seasons, the sun's highest and lowest paths become especially noticeable. Days reach a point where they stop lengthening and begin to shorten. Later, they reverse again. These moments feel like gentle pauses in the year, natural turning points. People mark these pauses, not with dates, but with feeling. The world seems to hold steady briefly, then continue. These transitions help anchor memory without tightening time into segments. The sky becomes a living calendar, invisible to anyone who looks up. It does not need interpretation. Its changes are slow enough to be forgiving. If you miss a night, nothing is lost. This forgiving nature encourages calm. There is no fear of falling behind. Time moves whether watched or not, and understanding grows simply by living within it. Seasonal changes follow the sun's gradual shift. Plants respond. Animals adapt. Human behavior adjusts quietly. These responses reinforce awareness of longer cycles without requiring calculation. Over generations, these patterns become traditions. Certain activities align naturally with certain times of year, not because of instruction, but because experience has shown what works. This kind of calendar lives in the body as much as the mind. Muscles feel different in warmth and cold. Sleep deepens when nights grow longer. Energy returns with increasing light. Biology responds instinctively. You may feel how this resonates with your own experience. Your body still responds to light and darkness, even now. Circadian rhythms continue quietly, shaped by ancient exposure to the sky. As months pass, the moon weaves its cycles through daily life. Its rhythm offers a way to sense medium lengths of time, bridging the gap between days and seasons. This bridge feels gentle and reliable. Unlike modern timekeeping, these early calendars do not divide time into equal units. They allow variation. Some months feel longer, some seasons pass quickly. This flexibility supports rest. The sky does not demand precision. It offers guidance through repetition. People learn to trust what feels right rather than what is exact. As you rest with this idea, remind yourself there is nothing you need to remember. Time will continue without effort. You are allowed to drift. The shared nature of sky-based calendars strengthens community. Everyone experiences the same light and darkness. This shared reference creates quiet connection without coordination. Festivals and gatherings eventually align with celestial moments, but even before ceremony, there is awareness. People know when change is near simply by looking up. This awareness reduces anxiety about the future. When patterns repeat, the unknown feels less threatening. The sky reassures through consistency. Even unusual events like extended storms or cold spells fit within the larger rhythm. They do not break it. The sun and moon continue their paths regardless. This continuity teaches resilience. Change happens, but structure remains. Then time flows, but does not collapse. As the night deepens now, your sense of time can soften. Minutes no longer matter, only rhythm remains. The sky's calendar does not hurry you toward morning. It allows you to rest fully within darkness, knowing light will return. You may notice your thoughts slowing, spacing out. This is natural. Time loosens when the mind feels safe. Early calendars shaped by the sky encourage presence. Attention rests on what is happening now, not what comes next. This presence supports sleep. When time is not counted, there is nothing to anticipate. The sky continues its cycles whether you watch or not. You do not need to participate actively. Rest is enough. As awareness fades gently, the idea of time becomes less defined, more like a flowing current than a sequence of steps. The sun will rise again, and the moon will change again. Seasons will turn again. Nothing requires your attention. And as these quiet rhythms continue shaping time without effort, they softly open space to notice how many different skies have watched over many different cultures at once. The sky stretches above every place on Earth in the same quiet way, offering the same stars to anyone willing to look up. Long ago, people in distant lands lift their eyes toward this shared darkness, unaware of one another, yet connected through the same moving lights. You can imagine how this creates a sense of unity long before the idea itself exists. In warm regions and cold ones, by oceans and deserts, forests and plains, the stars appear with familiar patience. They rise, arc, and set in steady patterns, unchanged by borders or languages. Different cultures see them from different angles, yet the sky remains one continuous presence, unbroken and calm. People notice the same bright stars returning each year, though they may call them by different names or connect them to different memories. The experience itself is shared. The feeling of recognition is the same. A familiar point of light brings comfort regardless of where you stand. You may imagine someone in one part of the world watching the stars emerge after sunset, while someone far away does the same, separated by distance but joined by timing. Night falls gently for everyone, though at different moments. The sky becomes a bridge across space. These ancient observers do not compete in their understanding. They are not aware of one another. Each community develops its own way of relating to the stars, shaped by environment and need, yet the core experience remains remarkably similar. The sky behaves consistently, offering the same rhythms to all. The movement of stars across the night feels dependable everywhere. Patterns rise and set in familiar ways. The same slow turning is visible whether you are near the equator or farther north or south, though the details shift slightly. These differences add richness without breaking connection. In some places, certain stars never set, circling endlessly above the horizon. In others, stars rise and disappear completely. These variations encourage careful observation, but they never disrupt the overall sense of order. The sky adapts gracefully to each location. Despite these differences, the fundamental experience of watching remains calm and shared. People everywhere learn patience by looking up. They learn that change happens slowly and that familiarity builds through repetition. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to compare or remember. Let the idea of many people, many nights, many skies drift softly through your awareness. Across cultures, the stars become markers of time, direction, and season. Not because anyone agrees on their meaning, but because their behavior is consistent. Shared observation leads to parallel understanding, even without communication. The sky does not belong to any one group. It offers itself equally. This generosity encourages a quiet sense of belonging that transcends place. You can feel how comforting this is. Wherever you are, the sky is there. Different landscapes influence how the night sky is experienced. In open plains, the horizon stretches wide, allowing stars to rise and set clearly. In mountainous regions, peaks frame the sky, shaping how movement is perceived. These differences add texture without changing the sky's essence. People living near water notice reflections of stars shimmering on the surface, doubling the experience. Those in dry regions see stars with exceptional clarity. Each environment adds its own softness to observation. Despite these variations, the sky remains a constant reference. Its predictability offers reassurance to all who watch it. Even when lives are uncertain, the stars continue their paths. You might imagine generations passing beneath the same stars, each adding their own quiet observations. Knowledge accumulates gently, without urgency. The sky allows time to unfold at its own pace. The shared experience of night encourages humility. No single observer sees everything. Each perspective is partial yet valid. Together, they form a fuller picture without needing to be combined. This humility supports calm. There is no pressure to know more than you do. The sky reveals itself slowly, on its own terms. Across cultures, people learn similar lessons from the night. That patience is rewarded. That change does not mean chaos. That repetition brings comfort. The stars also encourage storytelling, though the stories differ. What matters is not the content, but the act of looking together, of pointing upward, of sharing attention. This shared focus strengthens community. As you rest now, allow your sense of individuality to soften. Imagine being one among many, all looking at the same sky across time. The sky's universality reminds the mind that separation is often smaller than it seems. Beneath the stars, differences blur. Light behaves the same everywhere. This realization does not need to be understood intellectually. It can be felt quietly, like a deep breath that settles the body. Night skies across cultures offer a lesson in quiet connection. Without words, without agreements, people everywhere learn to trust the same rhythms. The stars rise and set, whether watched or not. They do not favor one place over another. This neutrality feels soothing. You may feel how this shared sky reduces tension. When something is shared by all, it feels less demanding. You are not alone in observing. You are part of a long, gentle tradition. As darkness deepens, the stars continue shining over distant lands, unseen yet present. This unseen presence mirrors the way calm continues, even when attention fades. The sky does not require belief or interpretation to offer comfort. It simply exists, steady and wide. As your thoughts slow, the idea of many cultures beneath one sky can fade into softness. There is nothing to resolve. The night continues, holding everyone equally. And as this shared sky continues its quiet watch over countless lives, it gently invites reflection on how even uncertainty and change can become teachers over time. Learning does not always arrive as a clear answer. Often, it comes as a quiet correction, a small shift in understanding that settles slowly over time. When you imagine ancient observers watching the sky, you can sense how this gentle process unfolds. They notice patterns, form ideas, and then, without urgency, they allow those ideas to change as new nights pass. Early astronomy is shaped by patience rather than certainty. Observers trust what they see, yet they also accept that what they see may not tell the whole story. If a prediction feels slightly off, there is no alarm. The sky will return again tomorrow, offering another chance to notice. Mistakes do not carry weight here. They are not failures. They are simply moments along a longer path. An expected star raises later than remembered. A wandering light behaves differently than before. These differences invite reflection rather than correction. You might imagine someone realizing that a familiar pattern no longer aligns as expected. Instead of forcing an explanation, they wait. They watch again. Over time, the pattern reveals itself more clearly, often resolving without effort. This approach encourages calm attention. There is no pressure to be right quickly. Understanding unfolds across generations, not nights. Knowledge becomes something shared and refined rather than achieved. As you listen now, there is nothing you need to follow closely. Let the idea of slow learning drift gently. Your mind can rest within uncertainty without discomfort. Ancient sky watchers do not separate observation from adjustment. They are part of the same process. Seeing leads naturally to refining. Refining leads back to seeing. The cycle continues quietly. When an idea no longer fits observation, it is set aside without resistance. Another explanation may take its place, or none at all. The sky does not demand answers. It simply continues. This willingness to adjust supports emotional ease. When change is accepted as natural, tension dissolves. The mind remains open, relaxed, receptive. Over generations, these small adjustments accumulate. What one observer notices imperfectly, another refines slightly. Knowledge grows through layering, not leaps. No single person carries the full picture. you may sense how comforting this is. Learning does not require brilliance, it requires time, and time is always available. Some ideas persist for centuries before changing. Others shift quickly. Both outcomes are acceptable. The pace of learning matches the pace of observation, which is slow and forgiving. This forgiveness allows curiosity to remain soft. There is no fear of being wrong. There is only the opportunity to look again. Ancient astronomers do not work alone. Their understanding is embedded in community memory. Stories, habits, and shared observations all contribute to refinement. You might imagine elders passing on what they have noticed, with gentle caveats. This seems to happen. This often happens. This may change. Learning remains flexible. This flexibility mirrors natural processes. Rivers adjust their paths slowly. Seasons shift gradually. The sky itself models adaptation through repetition. Errors become part of memory, not something to erase, but something to build upon. Each adjustment brings understanding closer to what is observed, without ever becoming final. As you rest now, notice how this approach feels. There is no pressure to know everything. There is permission to remain uncertain. The sky rewards this attitude. It reveals more to those who wait. It does not punish misunderstanding. It simply offers consistency. Some ancient models of the sky work well for a time, then reveal limitations. When this happens, observers do not abandon observation. They deepen it. This deepening happens quietly. New alignments are noticed. Old assumptions soften. The process is gentle, almost invisible. Learning becomes woven into daily life rather than separated from it. Watching the sky is not a task, it is a habit. This habit supports calm. When learning is not goal-driven, it does not interfere with rest. Curiosity and relaxation coexist. You may feel how this mirrors bedtime awareness. Thoughts arise, adjust, and fade. Nothing needs to be resolved. Ancient observers learn to trust this flow. They understand that knowledge is not a fixed destination. It is a moving companion. The sky itself models this lesson. Stars move slowly. Planets wander. Patterns shift subtly. Nothing stays perfectly still, yet nothing becomes chaotic. This balance between stability and change feels reassuring. It suggests that growth does not require disruption. As generations pass, refined understanding emerges naturally. It is not announced, it is simply noticed. You might imagine someone realizing that an old explanation no longer fits and quietly choosing a new one without ceremony. This quiet adjustment keeps learning humane. It stays connected to experience rather than authority. There is comfort in knowing that uncertainty is allowed, that mistakes are part of progress, that patience is enough. As your thoughts slow, let this lesson settle gently. You do not need to master anything tonight. The sky will continue offering opportunities to learn, adjust, and rest long after attention fades. Ancient astronomy advances not through certainty, but through openness. This openness supports both understanding and calm. As the night deepens, learning itself becomes less important than the feeling of connection it brings. And as these gentle adjustments continue unfolding across time, they softly invite reflection on how curiosity itself can remain calm, even when questions stay open. Over time, watching the sky no longer feels like something new. It becomes something expected, woven quietly into daily life. You can imagine how this shift happens slowly, without anyone deciding it should. One generation looks up, Then the next does the same, and soon the act of noticing the sky feels as natural as breathing. At first, observation is simply practical. People watch because the sky affects light, warmth, and movement. But repetition changes the experience. When something is done again and again, it gathers meaning without effort. Sky watching becomes familiar, comforting, and steady. The stars begin to feel like old acquaintances. Their return is anticipated, not questioned. Certain nights feel incomplete without them. Even when clouds hide the sky, the absence itself is understood. The stars are still there, waiting. Habit softens curiosity. People no longer strain to understand every detail. They trust the patterns they have seen before. Observation becomes less about learning something new and more about reconnecting with something known. This familiarity encourages ritual. People gather at certain times of year, not because they are told to, but because it feels right. The sky signals moments of transition gently. These moments are marked through presence rather than explanation. Ritual does not require complexity. Sometimes it is as simple as pausing to watch the sun rise from the same place each year, or noticing the moon's fullness together. These shared moments create continuity across time. You might imagine how comforting this is. When life feels uncertain, returning to familiar patterns offers stability. The sky becomes a dependable backdrop, reminding people that some rhythms remain unchanged. As traditions form, observation is passed down quietly. Children learn where to look simply by being shown. No formal teaching is needed. Curiosity is guided gently, without pressure. Over generations, this shared watching becomes heritage. Not written or recorded, but lived. Knowledge is carried in memory, in habit, in expectation. The sky becomes part of cultural identity without being owned by it. Different communities develop different customs, yet the underlying experience remains the same. Watching, waiting, noticing. The stars do not demand interpretation. They offer themselves equally to all. Tradition also brings patience. When something has been done for generations, there is no rush to change it. The sky will return tomorrow, next year, and long after. Time stretches, easing urgency. As you listen now, you may feel this same easing. There is nothing you need to learn tonight. You are allowed to simply be present. Sky watching as tradition also deepens emotional connection. Familiar patterns create comfort. The nervous system relaxes when environments behave predictably. This response is ancient, shaped by repeated exposure to steady rhythms. The sky becomes a place of reassurance. When the same stars rise as expected, it confirms continuity. The world feels reliable, even when circumstances shift. Over time, curiosity transforms. It does not disappear, but it softens. Instead of asking why constantly, people begin to ask how things feel. Observation becomes reflective rather than investigative. This reflection supports rest. When curiosity is gentle, it does not disturb sleep. It invites contemplation without tension. You might imagine evenings when people sit quietly together, looking upward without speaking. The shared silence feels complete. Words are unnecessary. These moments strengthen connection, not only to the sky, but to one another. Shared attention builds quiet bonds. As tradition deepens, the sky becomes integrated into stories, customs, and rhythms of life. Yet the core experience remains simple. Look up, notice, wait. Nothing about this process is forced. Tradition grows organically, shaped by repetition and comfort rather than instruction. You may feel how this mirrors your own routines. Familiar bedtime habits signal rest. Repetition tells the body it is safe to relax. The sky serves a similar function for ancient observers. Its predictability becomes a signal of stability. Even when new knowledge emerges, tradition does not vanish. Observation continues alongside understanding. Ritual and learning coexist peacefully. This coexistence keeps curiosity human. It remains connected to experience rather than abstraction. As generations pass, the sky continues offering the same patterns. Tradition does not freeze time. It flows with it. The stars rise, the moon changes, the sun returns. These events feel less like discoveries and more like reunions. You may sense how comforting this is. When something is expected, it does not demand energy. It supports rest. As your thoughts slow, allow this feeling of familiarity to settle. There is nothing you need to do. The sky has been watched this way for thousands of years. It does not need your attention to continue. Tradition allows observation to become effortless. Looking up feels natural, not intentional. As night deepens, curiosity rests comfortably within habit. Wonder remains, but it no longer presses forward. The sky continues its quiet work, shaping memory, rhythm, and rest through simple repetition. And as this long tradition of gentle watching settles into comfort, it quietly opens space for the final thought of how curiosity itself can eventually soften into rest. The sky does not need to be watched in order to continue. It moves whether eyes are open or closed, whether minds are curious or resting. You can sense this now, the quiet reassurance that nothing depends on your attention. Long after observation softens and curiosity fades, the sky remains, steady and unhurried. For ancient observers, this realization arrives gently. After years of looking up, of noticing patterns and changes, there comes a moment of release. The sky is trusted. It no longer requires constant checking. Its rhythms are known deeply enough to allow rest. You might imagine someone lying back beneath the night, no longer tracking movement or change. The stars are familiar, the moon's rhythm is expected, the sun will return. Nothing needs to be confirmed. This trust allows observation to relax into presence. Watching becomes optional rather than necessary. The sky continues its work quietly, without demand. As you listen now, you are invited into this same release. There is nothing left to learn tonight. Everything that needed noticing has already been noticed somewhere by someone long ago. The idea that the sky carries on without effort is deeply comforting. It means the world is not fragile. It does not need supervision. Patterns persist on their own. This understanding settles into the body as ease. Muscles soften, breathing slows, attention drifts inward. The sun will rise tomorrow, whether or not it is anticipated. The moon will change shape regardless of memory. Stars will trace their paths, whether they are named or forgotten. You do not need to remember any of this. Knowledge is no longer required. Trust is enough. Ancient sky watchers eventually come to this place of rest. After seasons of curiosity, they realize that the sky does not ask for constant interpretation. It simply exists. This realization transforms curiosity into calm. Wonder remains, but it no longer presses forward. It rests comfortably alongside acceptance. The nervous system responds to this release with relief. When nothing needs to be monitored, vigilance fades. Rest deepens naturally. You may feel how this mirrors the process of falling asleep. Thoughts loosen, awareness widens, then softens. Attention drifts without resistance. The sky models this transition beautifully. After all its movement and change, it arrives each night in stillness. Darkness settles. Light withdraws. Nothing is rushed. Even the stars, which seem fixed, are moving constantly. Yet this movement is so slow it feels like stillness. Motion and rest coexist peacefully. This coexistence offers a quiet lesson. Change does not always feel active. Stability does not always mean stillness. Both can be present at once. As you rest with this idea, allow yourself to stop following the narrative. You do not need to listen closely. The sky does not mind if attention fades. The knowledge gathered across generations now supports letting go. Observation has done its work. Familiarity has replaced effort. Early astronomers may have reached this point after years of watching. They realize the sky will continue offering its rhythms even if they stop looking. This realization does not diminish the sky's beauty. It deepens it. Beauty becomes something that exists independently, not something that must be sought. You might imagine lying beneath the night, eyes half closed, feeling the presence of the sky rather than seeing it clearly. This feeling is enough. The world feels wider when nothing needs to be held. Space opens around thought. Sleep approaches gently. The sky continues its cycles quietly, offering continuity beyond individual lives. Generations come and go, but the patterns remain. This continuity supports surrender. When something larger continues on its own, the individual can rest within it. As you breathe slowly now, you may sense how easy it is to let go. There is no responsibility attached to watching. Rest is permitted. The final stage of observation is release. Knowing when to stop looking is as important as knowing how to look. Ancient sky watchers learned this intuitively. After long familiarity, attention softens naturally. The sky becomes background rather than focus. This background presence is deeply soothing. It suggests that support exists even when awareness fades. The stars shine whether or not they are noticed. The moon moves whether or not it is tracked. The sun returns whether or not it is awaited. Nothing depends on memory. Nothing depends on effort. As night deepens, the sky carries on without interruption. Clouds may pass. Light may shift. Still, the underlying rhythm remains. You are invited to trust this rhythm now, the same way ancient observers eventually did. Trust allows rest to deepen. When trust is present, the mind no longer searches. Thoughts can drift like slow clouds. Some dissolve completely, others fade into background. The sky does not ask for understanding. It offers consistency instead. This consistency supports sleep more effectively than explanation ever could. As awareness loosens, curiosity becomes unnecessary. It has already served its purpose. You may feel yourself drifting, the way attention drifts when there is nothing left to do. The night holds everything gently. You are supported without effort. The sky continues whether watched or not. This is its quiet promise, and you are free to rest within that promise now. As this journey gently comes to a close, notice how wide and still the world feels. So many lives unfolding quietly, whether we see them or not. You don't need to keep their names or stories. They've already done their work. If you enjoy these slow explorations, you can support the channel in any small way that feels natural, so others can find this calm too. But right now, there is nothing to decide and nowhere to go. Let your thoughts soften, your muscles relax, and the night carry you onward, one peaceful breath at a time.